Buongiorno a
Non
tutti,
esplodeva ma si fondeva.
benvenuti alla conferenza stampa di presentazione del nostro premio alla carriera di quest'anno, Mr. Kenneth Branagh, e alla presentazione anche del film presentato come evento speciale Wallander, in particolare del terzo episodio di questa miniserie. Lo abbiamo inseguito per 2 anni. L'anno scorso 10 Days to War ha ricevuto il premio come miglior prodotto in assoluto e Kenneth interpretava il ruolo del comandante Tim Collins e l'anno scorso abbiamo individuato Wallander che era ancora in fase di produzione e di sviluppo e finalmente quest'anno siamo riusciti ad averlo con noi. Inizierei io ad aprire le domande, poi lascio la parola a voi. E prima di tutto quello che mi interessa capire è se manifestazioni di questa natura come il Roma Fiction Fest, quindi dedicate alla visibilità del prodotto televisivo, in qualche modo sono manifestazioni che a suo parere in qualità di regista, di attore, di produttore, di executive producer, sono manifestazioni che possono aiutare lo scambio e il passaggio tra mezzo televisivo e mezzo cinematografico, perché quello che forse appare abbastanza evidente agli occhi di tutti è che in Italia c'è ancora una certa difficoltà a vedere la televisione e paragonarla, diciamo, a livello qualitativo e produttivo al cinema.
Good afternoon, buongiorno. I'm very glad to be here. This is Andy Harris, the distinguished producer, film and
Scusate,
television.
non ho presentato Andy Harries, è il produttore di Wallander e non solo, ed è uno dei fondatori di Left Band Pictures. Sorry Ken, for interrupting you. Cofondatore insieme a Americo Cheoe, che è seduta qui in prima fila con noi. Grazie.
So actually, it's an interesting question, which either Marigo or Andy might want to talk about, which is the relationship between film and television as reflected in festivals like this. I did know a little bit about this festival because of my colleagues on 10 Days to War, who were here. Was it last year or the year before?
Last year.
And I remember a very excited email on a Saturday night when they were lucky enough to win a prize. I think they enjoyed being here and mixing and talking with and connecting with people who were primarily interested in TV drama, and particularly in the very rapidly changing world of television, where that rapid change is occurring alongside a very great squeeze, if you like, on the independent film and cinema market. Which Andy knows much better than I, in terms of the way, in broad terms, some kinds of quality work or challenging work or different or particular work now perhaps can find a venue on television that it might otherwise have found on independent film. And I think it's an interesting question because I think that the landscape is changing, and everybody here knows. The ways in which people watch programs, watch films, etc., is changing and has changed so profoundly that I think the actual question is an interesting one. The answer to it, I think, is changing. Is it helpful to have festivals like this where people from both disciplines intermingle? I think it probably is. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, I think it definitely is, actually. I think the lower end of feature film production and the top end of television production have never been closer in many senses. Wallander, as some of you may know, was shot by Anthony Mantle, who shot Slumdog Millionaire. And I think we also use directors who do movies as well. And in every way, we wanted these pieces to be like small movies, if you like. And $3 million euros each. It's a very high budget for television and a good budget for a low budget movie. So I think I think film and television is pretty close actually these days.
Also, I suppose the thing is that I don't know. You probably can remember the viewing figures. But literally millions of people watched Wallander on television in the UK and are now around the world. And it's sometimes very disappointing when you make a low-budget independent feature, and it may take $1.5 million just to open it for one weekend in maybe 1 or 2 cinemas, say in the UK, and for it to disappear from the screens the following weekend, having been seen by a few thousand people. So it's a pretty, unusual relationship between both those kinds of work now.
And also, I think that increasingly television is financed along the lines of films now. So that top-end quality television usually has several major financiers involved, similar to a feature film. So again, these sort of events are really important to meet people and to find people who share the same visions, same creative visions, and the same desires to get these films made.
Ok, una domanda qui, se si può presentare.
Buongiorno, Annalisa Flanderi. We know each other. Yeah, many festival, many interviews. Sì, sì. Quello che volevo chiedere è quali opportunità offre la televisione ad un attore e regista come lei e quali limitazioni? Perché malgrado tutto la televisione americana ha cominciato a fare dei film televisivi molti anni fa e li offriva a grandi registi, produttori, attori, registi indipendenti. Poi praticamente quel mercato lì un pochino è diminuito. Adesso si parla sempre di serial e quindi il serial limita un po' di più, credo. Ma mi piacerebbe sapere da lei che cosa ne pensa. Grazie.
The limitations or what something like this offers someone like me. Well, my involvement with Wallander or Wallander or Wallander, as the Swedes more properly call it, but we call it Wallander, was to do with pure passion and enthusiasm for the books, for Henning Mankell's books. I read them at the same time as Andy was reading them, and really the beginning of it was actually a conversation about what's the best way to do it. It came from, I would say, a pure creative attraction to the material, and in my case particularly to the character, as a role that I would like to play. And then we had a conversation about how best to do it. At one stage, Ole Sandberg, who had the rights, a Danish producer from the Swedish company Yellowbird, were certainly talking about film versions. But I guess I felt anyway, that there might be, just as Andy has described in terms of the way high-end television is financed, there might be more freedom. And I've found that there has been more freedom, or at least there's been a simplicity to the process, even though we're in a multi-partnership with the production of the films. But I found that it's quite a strong, small group of creative producers who talk to each other. I think it's been a very good working relationship, very enjoyable one, that started with liking the material and then determining to try and get the highest budgets to put on screen, and to be able to play with the form a little. The books themselves have a poetic dimension. The writer, Rick Cotton, brings that to the fore. It's unashamedly existential. It takes its time. It plays with pace. It does not obey a particular formula. It asks for a sort of auteur approach from the directors. It tries to play with the boundaries, if you like, of procedural crime drama. So for all those reasons, that's what it offered me, is I think a freedom to work with like-minded individuals. And we felt that one of the things about Wallander that we enjoyed was that it still did supply for a television audience, in our case in the UK, on a Sunday evening at whatever it was, 8:30 or 9, can't remember which, but a prime time slot. Things that they like, things that I like, good plots, mystery, something to solve, but also reflection and meditation. We were not ashamed of saying that we've thought of the films like meditations. It sounds probably sort of rather pretentious, but we was also an atmosphere in which we thought, well, we want to deliver a thriller as well, but we think they contain more than that. So all of that was what it offered me.